joining me right now on the telecast is Mindy Gans-Ribna. She is joining me live from Israel. She's an Israeli working professional. She's in Jerusalem right now. So, Mindy, first of all, I hope you and your family are safe and sound and together, and there is no harm that's come your way.
Thank you. Thank you very much for hosting me on this media platform. And yes, thank God we are well, safe and sound so far, and I hope it continues that way.
Mindy, you're living in Jerusalem. If you could shed more light into what the current situation is, have things calmed down, and obviously IDF making sure that all civilians are safe in shelters.
Certainly in my immediate vicinity, it seems that everyone is safe in their shelters. The newer buildings put up in Jerusalem have individual safe rooms in each apartment. Older buildings have a general bomb shelter, and we are located right next to a park. So our building's bomb shelter, an older building, when when there were sirens that sounded on Monday, during the course of the day, several times, all of the parents and children in the park ended up in our bomb shelter, which was the closest bomb shelter for everyone. And so thank God everybody made it in time. And yes, so we do have a sense of safety and security.
Obviously, it must be extremely scary when those, air missiles and airstrikes hit various parts of southern Israel. What was the situation in Jerusalem like? Also, were there a lot of terrorists in Jerusalem who were massacring people?
I think as soon as anyone becomes aware of a siren that is sounded, whether it is in your immediate vicinity or you hear about it, that it's happening elsewhere in Israel. And I will just stop and say that if anyone is listening to the radio, all radio broadcasts are interrupted to announce a siren that is being sounded in whatever part of Israel it's being sounded, so everyone becomes aware of it. There are, the Home Front Command has an app that will always inform you, if you've downloaded it, where the siren is. And so I think there is this very strong sense of identity, fear, worry, every time a siren is sounded someplace, because of course, until any damage is reported on or any injuries, we never know. But everyone here is living under the possibility that yes, a rocket can be fired to wherever you are living, and that places every single citizen of the state of Israel in danger.
Mindy, how does it feel like constantly living under the fear of a bomb attack, of a suicide attack taking place in, it could be in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, any part of Israel, really?
Absolutely. I think like any threat, one can't think about it all the time because then it becomes paralyzing. On the other hand, it is very much a part of our daily reality, certainly in these days during wartime, and it's never far. It is never far from anybody's mindset. And just keep in mind, I don't have small children anymore, but keep in mind that every young child is also living under this threat and fear. And every single parent of young children, and even older children, has to deal with the trauma and the fear that is ever present.
It's commendable, the resilience of Israelis, the resilience of Jews, right from the time of the pogroms 1,000 years ago, and then the Holocaust, which was a huge genocide of the maximum number of population of the Jews. And now, we see this terrorist attack that has killed over 1,000 people, civilians, and sometimes does it feel that this fight is never ending, and if there is an end at last, a goal post that you can reach?
Well, I think if nothing else, this attack, certainly this horrific terrorist attack, certainly emphasizes the fact that Jews, anti-Semitism and attacks against Jews, this represents the longest hatred of any group anywhere in all of history. I think it is a never-ending hatred. I certainly don't have any sense of how this hatred could possibly end, but it is something that, yes, it repeats itself historically in different places at different times. And I think the public at large, the world at large, is deluding itself if they think that this is a thing of the past. It isn't. It is very much a part of our present. And when you hear stories about the slaughter and the horrific methods, the killing and the torture and beheading children and beheading women, and the extent of the slaughter, this is very much alive and well.
Mindy, you know, I've spoken to a lot of Israelis through my medium, through our news channel, and they are mostly, you know, when they come, they're mostly the younger ones. And speaking to you, you look much more composed. It also shows the years of experience that you have with these kind of attacks. So obviously the people like you, the older generation, do you stand as a foundation for the younger generation to fall back to in such times of distress and turmoil?
Well, a few things I just want to say in response to your question. First of all, I so far, thank God, have not experienced anything personally, any terrorist attack personally, so I cannot speak from that sense of experience. The longer that we are here in Israel, the closer I shouldn't say that, the wider the circle becomes, the more people you know and you encounter, so that when a terrorist attack does happen, the chances of your knowing the people who were attacked or the soldiers that were killed or the people who were injured becomes much greater. I would like to think that in many Israeli families and in many places where families have, in fact, experienced this horror, that the older generation can be a voice of wisdom, but I will also emphasize that the younger generation brings a level of energy and commitment to the notion of never quitting, never saying that we are done, that's it, we are finished. Their commitment to the eternal nature of the Jewish people and to the notion of always putting one foot in front of the other in many cases is as inspirational coming from the young towards everyone else. And I'll just give you one other example of that's happening all over Israel in every single place. As you may know, all educational institutions are shut, which leaves millions of children with no daily framework. So for the smaller children, of course, that involves keeping them busy in some kind of constructive way. But for the hundreds of thousands of teenagers who have nothing to do, volunteerism has taken on a whole other aspect during these last 4 days of war. Everyone, and I stress everyone, is not just teenagers, adults too, is looking for a way to volunteer, to help.
Yes.
To whether it's collecting things and sending them down south where the destruction is at its worst, sending things to soldiers, monetary donations, going from bomb shelter to bomb shelter in various cities to make sure that they're clean and they're prepared. I just got a notice about an organization called Yad Sarah that lends medical equipment, and they have tons and tons of equipment and no one to fix it. And calling on volunteers for people to come and help them donate a few hours of their time and keep all of their equipment in running order. And so I think this sense of falling back on experience as yes, and the wisdom of the older generation, yes, is very much a part, but it works in the opposite way, as in the opposite direction, as well as we, the older generation, take inspiration and strength from our youth, which is our greatest treasure.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mindy Gans-Ribner, for joining us on this telecast. I wish you safety. I hope this war comes to an end very, very soon.
Thank you. Your mouth to God's ears, and thank you very much.
All right. You know, I have with me Aaron Levarko as well. He's a retired sergeant at the Israel Defense Forces. Aaron, thank you for coming on the show and talking to us. And of course, you have gone through, you know, a lot of strife. The fact that you have served at the IDF, the fact that you are a retired sergeant over there. If you could shed more light into what the role of the IDF now becomes, because you're fighting on the front lines. There are over 3 lakh of the troops that have been deployed. How difficult a situation it must be.
Well, thank you for having me. So right now, it doesn't matter whether you're left, right, in the opposition, in the government. It doesn't matter what political position you take. Right now, we are all needing to pull together, and that's what we're doing. Approximately 350,000 reservists have been called up. This is a fight for our survival, and we have the attitude that we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to defend our borders. We have a responsibility to win this war. We will win this war. We have a responsibility to fight for the blood that has been shed, for the lives that have been taken, and this is the attitude. We have been forced into this. We don't want to do this, but we have been forced into it. We do not have any choice anymore. We cannot live. We've learned now. We took a sucker punch in that first day, and now we're recovering. Now we're regrouping, and we are doing the work. And we are dependent on not only our military, but we're also dependent on the prayers of our people as well, because it's not just our military. It's the spirit of our people, our ideology, and certainly, as I say, the prayers of our people.
Yes. Where are you located currently? Also talk to us about your family members. Hope they're safe. Are you with them right now?
Well, I'm sitting here in a relatively safe place in the central north region of Zikron Yaakov, which is just inland from the Mediterranean coast, where I'm kind of in between Tel Aviv and Haifa, hearing lots of rockets. I'm about an hour from Tiberias, so hearing a lot of airplanes up in the north, because let's not forget that it's not just the Gaza Strip that is a threat. Another, even perhaps potentially greater threat is our northern border, where we have Hezbollah with 250,000 surface-to-air missiles pointed right at us. And already this morning we had some missiles fired over. In the last few days we've had some terrorists that have infiltrated our territories. So we are, but our Air Force are operating round the clock. So I have 4 kids and 3 of them are in the Army right now. That's all I can say. But we're a nation right now that we're a little traumatized. We're a little shocked, to say the least, and we're hurting. We are suffering. This is very, very painful for our nation. This is. It's been said many times. It's almost like going back 50 years ago to when we were in the synagogues praying, fasting, and we got attacked on Yom Kippur. But the barbarism of it all, you know, people are likening Hamas to even worse than ISIS. So this is very, very difficult for our nation right now.
You know, you've served as a sergeant at the Israel Defense Forces. Now, what are these strategies and plans that are then played out by the IDF to strike Hamas and Hezbollah terrorists? Because you intercept them on a regular basis, not to an extent that has been witnessed on Saturday, but there definitely must be checks and balances in place to curtail them.
Well, I'm not sitting in the engine room of the top chief of staff and generals, but what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing as I'm watching panels of ex-generals and political and military analysts speak is right now we are laying the Gaza Strip under total siege. We have cut off the electricity, the water, food, and all supplies getting in. We are putting them in siege. And this is a very difficult thing because we know, just like our innocents on our side have suffered, we know that there are going to be innocent people on the other side. One of the problem is a few days ago when this started, there were pretty much everyone on the streets of Gaza celebrating, rejoicing, throwing candies to the kids, shooting guns up in the air, celebrating. Now, our Air Force, we are crumbling buildings, infrastructure under the ground. And the same people that were rejoicing, they are in shock, they are in terror, they are in devastation. And the Hamas have put the people into this situation. Just like in the 1967 Six-Day War, we were forced into that war. We were forced into this war, and sadly, the people of Gaza are suffering. So, and I think the same will happen if Hezbollah hit us from the north. If they dare to hit us, then I believe we will do the same. I believe we will put a circle around Lebanon. We will cut off its electricity, its water, its food, its supplies, its gas. We will have to put it under a siege. And that's a way of bringing a nation or a people to its knees. Again, I'm not the military strategist, but that seems to be the strategy that we're going about right now.
Okay. Also, the big question everybody asking, about the intelligence failure, about the capacity of Iron Dome to intercept these 5,000 plus missiles that hit Israel, hit southern Israel. Obviously all these things, all these matters and discussions are going to be something that are going to be had later on. But right now, you are at war.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Now is not the time. People are talking about it. People are asking for our Prime Minister and our Defense Minister and our top generals' heads to be put on the chopping blocks. Now is not the time. They did the same in the Yom Kippur War with Golda Meir. They criticized her. Listen, 1,500 terrorists. They had planned this obviously for a long time. They were barbaric. They are barbaric. They're still out there, many of them. They still have our people. They're in hiding, and with God's help, we will get them. We will bring them to their knees.
Right. Also, a big question in everybody's mind. The world is looking at Israel right now. When do you think is this war going to end?
I think the war, if you're looking just at Gaza, at the Gaza Strip, people are talking about it being a long, drawn-out thing. From our television's perspective, it almost looks like all we need to do is bomb them from the air, but it's not as simple as that. Once we get the ground forces in, once we get our tanks, once we get our infantry in, then the real action will begin. Of course, we know that there are underground operatives, underground potential cities. So that will be a guerrilla warfare. How long that will take, I don't know. I hope it doesn't go on beyond 3 months. I'm guessing, I'm speculating. If the war breaks out in the north, and by the way, we not only have one or two fronts, we have 4 potential fronts. We have the Gaza Strip, we have the northern Lebanese border, we have the Syrian and the east, Jordan. Clandestine groups are joining from Iraq, from Yemen. And now we have another front, and that is in the heartland of Israel, Samaria, which politically is called the West Bank, because there are big terrorist organizations operating from there as well. So it's a very difficult question to answer, and our leaders have said this may take some time. So we have to pray and trust for our leaders and our military, and support them in any and every way we can. And we appreciate your support and people around the world who are not only wanting to send stuff, but actually are wanting to come and volunteer and be here.
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron Levarco, for joining me on the telecast and giving us an insight into what the situation right now is in Israel.
Thank you, Ben.
All right. I have with me right now Mor Boni. He's also an Israeli citizen. He's currently in central Israel. And Mor Boni, thank you for joining us on the telecast. If you could tell me, on Saturday, where were you when this morbid attack took place?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Well, I was woken up by the alarms. It was a complete surprise for all of us. We were pretty shocked, didn't know what was going on, and then only after about 30 minutes we realized that there was something completely different going on at the moment. We started seeing footages of terrorists on the streets of all kinds of settlements in the south of Israel. And it was terrifying to watch. People were sort of trying to film it, calling for help. Nobody was coming, which is still a mystery to me.
Where were you? Were you located in central Israel when the attack happened, which is relatively safer an area to be in?
This is where I live, is pretty much you can call it south center, maybe.
Okay.
Israel is not that big, but it's not exactly in the center, but it's not in the south, and still we were inside the shelters. And I mean, the moment we realized what was going on, that babies are being murdered at the moment, currently in their beds, and mothers were kidnapped and grandmothers were taken, and all of the heinous things that are happening there, it was clear that this time it's different. And we've been dealing with this thing for a while now.
Yeah.
Every now and then, like, it has become sort of a routine here. Every few months you have to go in the shelter.
Yeah.
And then there's some peace and quiet, and then again.
How do you deal with it? Have you come to terms with it? Also, the resilience of Israelis, the resilience that you bounce back every single time there is an attack, but this has been the worst ever in years.
Yes, it has. And I think, as you know, serving in the Army is mandatory. Unfortunately, there is no other choice. So each one of us knows what it feels like to be very unsafe. And this is it. We had to leave our apartment, go to a different place, which I would prefer not expose the name, because we're not very isolated here.
Yeah.
We try to be.
Okay.
And,
any of your family members or friends or neighbors who are currently in reserve duty along the Gaza Strip?
Of course, like half of them,
Yeah.
north, south, everyone is there and ready, and are, you know, and the people who aren't are just here doing whatever they can. Like I see this and I'm amazed how people have been working so hard 24/7 during these days, trying to just let the truth out, because people are innocently thinking that Hamas is some kind of a humanitarian organization or something. They have no idea what they're supporting. They're supporting the darkness, pretty much.
Yeah.
This is a war between light and darkness.
Yeah.
There's no other way to describe it.
Well, I stand with Israel and the people of Israel in solidarity, and so does India. Thank you, Morbani, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
For joining us.
Thank you.
Yes, and sharing what is happening right now in Israel and what the people are going through.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.